So hi, I'm Claire. I started my Salesforce journey about 2 years ago, and I've got a passion. So I've got a history as a fundraising manager, and a passion for kind of like helping people like me with different aspects of Salesforce. One of them being flow. So hopefully this is going to be just a like a basic introduction. Pause me at any time if you want to ask any questions. But I've just got a challenge for the charity Campaign for Chocolate, and they have a fundraiser, and the fundraiser has these following requirements. So what we're going to do is go through these requirements and show you how I would use Flow to automate these. So basically the fundraiser, she would like to, or he would like to, set a flag on the opportunity to highlight whether the opportunity is eligible for gift aid based on whether the contact has a valid gift aid declaration. They would like to send a thank you email to the donor when an opportunity is close won. They would like to set the close date, the acknowledgement date, as the date that the opportunity is updated to close won, and set the acknowledgement status as acknowledged. They'd like to create a gift aid record when an opportunity is close won. And they would like to update the contact as a major donor if the donation amount on the opportunity is greater than £5,000. They would like to set the opportunity name as the household name plus the close date when an opportunity is created. And they would like to create gift aid records for opportunities that already exist when a contact is updated with a valid gift aid declaration. And the opportunity close date is after the gift aid certificate valid from date. Is everybody okay with those requirements? Seems a lot, but hopefully I can break it down into simple steps. So the first thing I do when I approach this is to plan my flow or flows. And one of the first things I do is look at whether the requirements belong in a before save or after save flow. Now, is everybody familiar with before save and after save flow, or would you like me to explain about this? Oh, shall I explain? Yeah, okay. So this is what I did at London's Calling last year. So when we do record trigger flows, we kind of split them into two different flows. One is a before save flow, and one of them is an after save flow. Now, your before save flow is when you want to set values on the object that triggered the flow. So at the moment, we're working with the opportunity. We're going to be doing opportunity flows. So if we set any values on the opportunity record itself, these actions will belong in a before save flow. If we're doing if we're sending emails or we're updating values on a related object, or we're creating records or we're updating records, these will all belong in a after save flow. And I kind of have my top tip that I presented last year was when I do a before save flow, I kind of try and keep, well, I do try and keep everything orange. So you only need to use like your assignments because you're just setting values. When you do an after save flow, that's where you can use, it's called my unicorn flow. And basically you can use actions, you update records, you create records, delete records, all those things belong in your after save flow. So does everybody understand? Is everybody okay so far? Yeah. So what I do is I have a table where I look at all the different actions that I need to automate and then decide whether they belong in a before save or an after save flow. So I've got one prepared for you. So these are all the actions. Oops, it's not this one, it's this one. These are all the actions that the fundraiser would like automated. And then we decide whether they belong in a before save or after save flow. And I'm going to ask people to unmute themselves when they want to shout out. But basically, if I go through the different requirements, shout out whether you think they belong in a before save or an after save flow. So the first one is to set the flag on an opportunity to highlight whether the opportunity is eligible for gift aid based on the gift aid status of the contact. So would somebody want to shout out whether that belongs in a before or an after save flow?
The before. Before.
Before, perfect. The second one is send a thank you email to the donor when the opportunity is close won.
After.
After.
But after, because we're sending an email. Okay, set the close date, acknowledgement date, as a date that the opportunity is updated to close won.
Before. Before.
Before, perfect. Created gift aid record when an opportunity is close won.
After.
After.
What they said.
Yeah, it's after because you're creating a record. Set their opportunity name as the household plus close date when an opportunity is created.
Before. Before.
Before. Create gift aid records for opportunities that already exist.
After. Before. After. After.
After, because we're creating records. Update the contact as a major donor if the donation amount on opportunity is over £5,000.
After.
After, perfect. And update the opportunity record when the account valid gift aid declaration is populated on a contact.
After.
After. Perfect. Okay. So that's the first stage that I would do. I also kind of like note down, to be able to do this, what kind of like elements do I need within the flow? So for example, for the first one, I'm going to use a decision and an assignment. So I just go down there and write down what I think what tools I might need to be able to create my flow. So going back to here. So before creating the flow, there's some kind of like best practice, or it might not, well, I think it's best practice. It's just been the way I've been taught. And I believe lots of people also think the same. So if you're working in a team, especially when you're working in a team, you have to agree on a naming convention for your flows. So like the naming convention I follow, it is like, if we're going to do a before save flow, I would call it the name of the object, so like opportunity, then followed by before save. The same with after save. If I'm writing like a formula within my flow, I'd prefix it with form underscore and then what the formula is going to be doing. If I create a variable, I prefix that with var, different things like that. So everything's consistent. So when you're reading your flows and other people are reading your flows, you all know you're all on the same hymn sheet. So the second thing is to tell a story with your flow. And that is make sure that when you're labeling your flow, you can read it. So you're reading it from top to bottom and you're following a story. You know exactly what is happening. So the labels aren't ambiguous. You know exactly what's happening within that element. Another one that I like to do is like if I'm using a yes and no in a decision outcome, I try and make the API names meaningful. So if the decision outcome was yes on whether there was a valid gift aid declaration, I just make my API name yes underscore valid gift aid declaration. It just makes it easy to read as well. A good rule for after save flows is to minimize the number of pink nodes that you're using. So look at where when you're creating your flows, look at what you can do to minimize the amount of pink. Also, make sure you understand when to execute the decision outcomes. This is like particularly important when you're like sending emails, that you don't want to be doing it every time the flow is triggered, just when it's first meets the criteria, that kind of thing. And a tip that I've learned recently is if you're using variables in your flow, only don't select them as available for input and output. Only do that if they're going to be passed in and out of the flow. If they're staying within that one flow, just leave those unmarked. And probably, like, again, going back to telling a story, is add meaningful descriptions throughout your flow, and especially like when you're saving your flow and you write your flow description, make sure, you know, not only you can remember what the flow is doing, but for other people, that they know exactly what's going on in the flow. Does that all make sense? That's really hard talking on a screen. But anyway, go to the next bit. So what I've done is, it's a bit like Blue Peter. I kind of like, here's some flows I prepared for you earlier. I just thought I'd just talk you through how I can have constructed them. So we go back to our plan here. I'm now sorting them into, like, taking the before save actions first, and then the after save, two after save flows that we will need to do to manage all these requirements. Okay. So we're going to start with our before save flow. So it's triggered from an opportunity. And when I've constructed it, I always choose, or I pretty much always choose to have the configure it for when it's created and updated. Okay, when it's a before save flow, you choose fast field updates. And that means it saves the values onto the record and doesn't write these values to the database. So here, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to assign core fields on the opportunity record. That means any fields that need to be set, no matter what the opportunity is. So in this case, it's the name of the opportunity. We want to set that with to have a specific naming convention. Okay, so I've got my dollar record. Through the dollar record, you can reference every field on the opportunity. So we're going to go back to find name again. And in our requirements, it said the name wanted to be the household name plus the close date. So to do that, I just have a formula over here. Just taken, I'll just blow that up for you, the account name. I've added the word donation, and then I've used the close date and just converted that into a text. Now, the second thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to update the field valid gift aid declaration. So we wanted to know if the opportunity is eligible for gift aid. And on the opportunity, there is a field that I've a custom field I've created called valid gift aid declaration. Now, on a contact record, which I'll show you now, I've also added this here. So on the contact record, there's a valid gift aid declaration field. And depending on what is the status is here, whether it's yes or no, this will then be populated onto the opportunity record, which I'll show you here. So on our opportunity record, we've also got this field. So we want to say, does the account on this particular opportunity that's triggered the flow have a valid gift aid declaration? And whatever the contact record says will come over to the opportunity and populate this field. So how I've done this is I've created a decision. And the decision looks to see record. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. Go back to this one. So the first thing I do is I check, first of all, to see if the account that's on the opportunity is a household account, because only household accounts will have be eligible for will have that contact which is eligible with the gift aid status. Sorry, I just stumbled over my words there. So we're going to look up to the account record and see if it's a household. If it's a household account, we're going to go down and we're going to assign the valid gift aid declaration field is going to be equal to the primary contact valid gift aid declaration. So we're going to populate the valid gift aid declaration on the opportunity with the value that's on the primary contact valid gift aid declaration field. We're then going to go down to look at the other decision, the other requirement that we have and this looks at if the opportunity is closed won. So we're going to create another opportunity, another decision that looks at the opportunity stage and asks if the opportunity stage is closed won. And if it is closed won, we're going to assign the following fields with the following values. So we wanted the closed date to be today, the acknowledgement status to be acknowledged, and the acknowledgement date to be today. Now, to set those values, you need a formula, which we've written over here, which I've created, called form today, which has this formula today, which literally just sets today as the date. And then the acknowledgement status, we choose from the list of values which status we want the opportunity to be set to, the acknowledgement status to be set to when an opportunity is closed won. The really important thing to do when you're setting dates is to make sure you only do it when it's first updated to closed won. If you didn't do that and you chose the other to be executed if the condition and requirements are met, every time the opportunity is updated, the close date will then change all the time. So you just want it set for that very, very first time. Does that all make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So moving quickly on to an after save flow. So this is where we put all our actions and our creating records and updating records. This is going to be our opportunity after save flow. And the requirements we had here is when an opportunity is updated to closed won, we want to send an email to our donor to say thank you. So again, decision just like we've done before. Looking at whether this stage is closed won, and only doing this on the first time because we don't want a million emails of thank you emails to go to our donor. We only want one email to go once. So we select the second when to execute outcome. And then we simply use an email alert. So if you've not set up email alerts before, you do two things. You set up an email template and an email alert, and then you reference that email alert in the flow here. Okay, the second thing that we wanted to do is create a gift aid record. So what we've done here is another decision. See whether there is a valid, whether a valid gift aid declaration is yes. And then what we're going to do is we get all the gift aid records where the opportunity is the same opportunity where the gift aid record has the opportunity that matches this opportunity, checks if there's any gift aid records against this opportunity, and if there isn't, it creates a gift aid record. And we're creating that gift aid record by using the different fields on the gift aid record are populated with values from an opportunity. Okay, and the final requirement of our after save flow is out whether the amount on the opportunity is greater than £5,000. So we have another decision to say, is the amount greater or equal to £5,000? And if it is, we use the update record element to update the contact record and set the major donor checkbox on the contact record as true. Do now is just show the next part. So when although we've got another flow to go through, we'll go back to that after we've just done the next bit, is to create a test plan. So how I do this is with my requirements.
Very clear.
Yeah,
There's a quick question before you move on.
of course.
You know, in the before save,
Yeah.
when you need to update a few fields there, the assignment actually updating the fields and putting through a DML call, or do you still need to have the actual update set up?
You don't, so do you need to have the update records, you mean?
Yeah.
No, you just need the assignment.
Okay.
It just decides, so when you're setting the values on the object that triggered the flow, you can just use assignment and that sets those values. You don't need to use update records.
Okay.
Is there any other questions on any other parts of the two flows before? Okay, so the next obviously part of once you've created your flow is to test it. And how I do that is just literally have all my requirements listed. The test plan, how am I going, like a test plan is how am I going to test that? What do I need to do to test that? Now you can either do two things. You can use a debug on the flow, and I'll show you that in a minute, or you can actually create the scenarios so you can see it actually happening as a user would. And for me, I kind of prefer that route. I like to see it all happening like a user would, and also not only logging in as yourself, but logging in as a user to test these. But if I look at the first one where I want to set the flag on the opportunity, if the gift aid declaration is a yes on the contact, the way I'm going to test that is I'm going to create a new opportunity and I'm going to choose a contact that has a valid gift aid declaration, and then make sure that that follows through to the opportunity. Okay. To test like the close date again, and a lot of the actions which are closed won is move your opportunity to closed won, and then you just make sure that the close date is set to today, the acknowledgement is set to today, and the acknowledgement status is updated to acknowledged. You could also then, with the opportunity, make sure that it's over £5,000, and then you can check the contact record and make sure that the major donor checkbox is checked. So that what I do is I look at each different scenario and find a way that I'm going to test that scenario. And then next to the how I'm going to do it is what do I expect to happen. So in this instance, where I'm testing an opportunity where I know the contact has a valid gift aid declaration, I'm expecting to see the opportunity to show yes on that valid gift aid declaration field. I'm expecting to see the closed date to be today. I'm expecting the acknowledgement date to be today. So you just go through and make sure that you know exactly what you're expecting to see. And then you can then from there work out whether your flow is actually passing the requirements or there's something you need to do to put it right. So just to show you, I have a contact here and she has a valid gift aid declaration. Okay, this is one I was working on earlier, so she's already been updated to a major donor, but I'll show you another one in a minute. So if I go onto my opportunity and I'm going to create a new opportunity for Celia. To test my opportunity name, unfortunately, after I've done this, I realised the opportunity name was required, but I'm just going to put an X here for now, and then you'll see in a minute what that transforms to. I'm going to set the close date at the moment to the 1st of April. I'm going to put the stage to prospecting. And save this record. Okay, and what you can see now is the valid gift aid declaration here has been set to yes, because Celia's contact record, the valid gift aid declaration was yes. Okay, you can see the opportunity name has come through with that format that they wanted. They wanted the household name plus the word donation with the close date. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is at the moment, the acknowledgement status is not populated. There's no acknowledgement date. And what we're going to do now is we're going to just update this opportunity to closed one. Okay. And now you can see that the close date has been set to today. The acknowledged status has moved to acknowledged. The acknowledged date is also today. And then you can also see that there is a gift aid record. So gift aid, I created a custom object for gift aid records. And you can see here that the values from the opportunity, the donation amount has pulled through, the opportunity name is pulled through, and the donor name, the contact name has also pulled through onto this gift aid records that we've just created. Okay, now the last part of the requirements was if you have a contact who has opportunities they've against their contact record, but they haven't got a valid gift aid declaration, and then at some point in time that is updated to yes, they do have a valid gift aid declaration. And what you want to do is to update all those opportunities to say, yes, these are eligible for gift aid, and also create those gift aid records. So we have our final flow challenge, which involved a loop, which this example here is a really good example of how you can, why you should use loops in a flow. And the reason for using a loop in this case is because you're using the values of one record to create another type of record of a different object. So how we're going to do this is we're going to start with our decision. We want to know whether the contact has a valid gift aid declaration. So if it equals yes, we're going to go down this path. So what we need to do is we need to get all the closed won opportunities associated with the contact. And we do that with a get records. And we have certain criteria that we need to meet. So we need to make sure that the contact on the opportunities is the same contact that triggered the flow, that the stage name on those opportunities is closed won, and that the close date is greater than the valid from date on the contact record of the gift aid declaration, which is on the contact record. So we're going to get all those opportunities, and then we're going to loop through each of those opportunities that it finds. So we're going to we're going to get the first opportunity that it finds, and then the first thing we do is we've created a gift aid variable, a record variable. And from the record variable, you can access all the different fields within the gift aid record. So we're going to look at the donation amount to be the current item that's going through the loop. And we're going to populate the donor name as the contact that's going through the loop. And we're going to populate the opportunity name as the opportunity that's going through that loop. So we're going to, that first opportunity that comes through, we're going to assign all those values to a single record variable for our gift aid records. And then that single record then is going to be added to a collection. And that collection will contain all the different gift aid records that we're creating with this loop. Through all the opportunities that it's found, it then creates these gift aid records based on all those values that is pulled in the assignment. And then the last thing it does is it gets all those opportunity records and updates that gift aid valid status to yes. So I'll just show you this in practice. So I have a contact here called Elias, and he has two opportunities that I created earlier against his name. If we go back to the contact, at the moment, there's nothing filled in on the gift aid certificate valid from me or a valid gift aid declaration. Okay, so, and if we've just checked these opportunities, there's no gift aid records created. So I'm going to update these to close won opportunities. Okay, and I'm going to go back to Elias record, and I'm going to say that Elias now has a valid gift aid declaration, and it's valid from February this year. So what I want to see now already on the contact record, you can see that there's now 2 gift aid records. And just to show you against each of these opportunities, I just showed you the wrong one. Hang on, go back to. They have a gift aid record against each opportunity. And I go back to the opportunities. The valid gift aid declaration field has been, all of these have been updated to yes. So I know that was a really quick, I probably crammed way too much in there. But basically to meet the requirements of a user story for automation, I put everything in a table, especially for like record trigger flows, work out if it's a before save or after save, take those requirements, build the flow, test it, either using a debug, and just to show you if you've not seen a debug before, you can just, oops. To debug, you in this case, you select an opportunity that you want to debug really, and see if it follows the path that you're expecting it to follow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, well done, Claire. That was really good. Anybody got any questions for Claire? Everybody's been very quiet.
Just a quick question about testing. Sorry, Paul. Was just do you also do negative tests?
Yes. Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
positive. No, that was
so
just
always look at the what
Mm.
should happen, and then if those criteria aren't met, what should happen then. So yeah, negative testing as well.
Lots to think about. Thank you.
Paul, we can't hear you.
Testing. Is that better?
Can hear you now.
You mentioned early on about avoiding using too many pink nodes on after save flow. Why is that? Because I'm probably guilty of using quite a lot of pink nodes.
Because every time you use a pink node, it writes that action to the database. So the amount of processing you're doing is far more. So if you can minimize the pink nodes, then you're reducing the amount of processing that you're doing.
Cool, thanks.
I would just add to that though, if the flow doesn't go through your pink node, so if you've got lots of pink nodes at the end, you're good. I've come across a lot of flows where people really try and compact them down, so they've got like one update at the very end, but that means they've chucked loads of variables in, which actually means if anybody else looks at your flow, it can be a nightmare to figure out what they were trying to achieve. Whereas if they've got a different path and they're clearly going to different places and they're clearly doing something different, it's much easier when you hand it over to somebody. But that sometimes is personal preference, I would say.
I would also say one of the main things is to never do an update within a loop. So when you need to have a loop, use the assignment, use the variables, update all the records within the variables, and then do a pink node, which is an update. to the next one.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, Claire, I was actually looking forward when you said the test plan. I thought that you were going to show us the testing scenarios within the flow. That is something that I've tried to use, and I never managed to get my head around. So for Emma, this was actually going to be a nice thing to have in one of the meetups, somebody to come and show us how to use the test scenarios.
Use this one where you say convert to test on the flow debugger.
Yeah, so you can definitely do a debug and then convert to test, but everything that you have noted for yourself, what you're testing, and then the reverse tests for the things that don't happen, would be great to have an overview of how we actually use the testing built in within the flow. Because my understanding is that once you set them all up, you can just rerun them every time you change the flow or you need to add anything to the flow. To me, it seems, maybe Mark has some thoughts about it, but to me, it seems like a lot of work, and I'm not sure what the benefit is.
Yeah, to be honest, I've never used that way. I've always done it the way I've just showed you. I've not used the convert to test within the flow.
Okay, amazing. So I think before we get dragged into the world of test runs, which, yeah, absolutely, I think it's a good topic, possibly something we cover here or might fit in better with just one of the standard admin groups, because we do try and stay a bit non-profit focused. But I think, yeah, it's a good point, because to be honest, I've not heard a huge amount about those either. So yeah, something to consider.